Well, we're excited about the start of our season, something that we do not take lightly, something that we share with our family, friends, loved ones, but also the tradition of this institution, our former players, former coaches, and obviously our current program, our fans, and our community. I'm very excited with the growth of our team, starting from the summer. Our schedule that we put together is not an easy schedule by any means, and we kicked that off Monday night against a tough APB team led by Coach Bozeman, who I respect dearly. Comes from a great basketball family, and obviously a great program. So, questions?
Is he related, is that Todd's son?
No.
Bozeman, no, not Todd.
Coach, just what are the big things kind of on both sides of the floor that you want to see from this team in the first game?
Well, just being able to be consistent in what we do. Obviously have a positive assist-to-turnover ratio. Want to be able to shoot the three at a certain percentage. Want to lead the country in free throw percentage. And obviously want to be able to ignite our offense with our defense and close down possessions and seal them how they need to be sealed. With rebounding and guys going after the ball aggressively. Our pace, our space offensively has been something that is an identity for us, so I want to continue to play at the pace. We have two guards in Sean East, Nick Honor, who has experience, so I want them to be able to go out there and play with some freedom, but also play with structure. I believe that we have a shooting team, but we'll see where our nerves are to begin the game. I don't want to just pinpoint and just rely on certain things, but I want to have a steady diet of different looks that we can execute upon. I want these guys to play unselfish, which is what we've always done.
I know a big thing for you in the past has been having vocal guys on the court. Have you seen anyone specifically step up in the past few weeks, been really vocal for you guys?
Really vocal. I believe Sean East has grown with his vocal speaking and talking and leading. Nick Honor, obviously. Noah Carter is the loudest one on our team. Caleb Brown has had his stretches. He's done a great job. Caleb Grill brings some experience. John Tonje, Tamar Bates. These guys are definitely a connected group of guys. Communication is important, but also how you respond to adversity. And I want these guys to be able to talk through certain points in the game, certain issues, and execute what we need to execute. So communication is something that we do, not only in between the lines, but when you look at our bench, when you look at J.V. Brown, when you look at Danny Stevens, Jackson Francois, those guys have to lead us vocally on the bench, no different than Ben Sternberg did. But also those guys that are not in the game, they need to be vocal as well and lead us in a way that is expected in our program.
The depth that you have what kind of an idea do you have about rotations and combinations, and how much are we going to see of that working through in the opener?
Well, I think like last year, we have three guys who probably have started every single game. When you look at the roster of Demoy Hodge, Kobe Brown, Nick Honor. So this season, you look at Noah Carter, you look at Nick Honor and Sean East. I think those guys give us a unique starting trio. From there, we have to figure out who else is deserving and who else went out. I just expect those three to be an anchor for us and lead the charge. No different than I expected Demoy Hodge, Nick Honor, and Kobe Brown to do that for us last year, and it gives us an identity and an expectation.
Is it the kind of situation you can see where only 5 guys can start, but there are a lot of guys that play starters minutes throughout the roster?
Yeah, we can go different ways. I'm gonna continue to, get that organized in my brain. You're asking the same question. I'm sure my assistants are asking and wondering. But more importantly, when you look at our team, we can play with different lineups, and that's what you have to look at. We can maybe start a unit and then have a completely different halftime starting group. Those things matter when you have a depth and obviously the experience that we have, and I'm excited about it. But right now, that would probably be the 3 guys that I could tell you that has cemented themselves in a way for our program.
Aiden Shaw has another year under his belt, a year under his belt. You know, how do you feel like you would see his role expanding this year?
Yeah, Aiden Shaw is a tremendous vertical athlete, unbelievable at what he does instinctually. I think there's a level that he gets to with that adrenaline rush once the games happen. But also, when you look at where his athleticism impacts the game, it has to show up in rebounding. It has to show up in block shots or altered shots. It has to show up in him keeping the ball alive, whether it's Rodman rebounds or offensive rebounds or even just running and sprinting in activity. I think he has a strength that a lot of people don't have, and I want him to obviously show that every time out. So he has grown, without a doubt, a year older, a couple pounds heavier, and obviously a little bit more confidence. But I'm looking forward to what he brings to the table because he has been challenged. I have challenged him throughout the summers, but also throughout the fall. And it is not easy what I'm asking him to do, but also it's possible that he can do those things, and he's a special player when he executes that.
Coach, you talked a lot this offseason about how quickly some of the transfers were able to kind of mesh themselves into the team
Yeah.
chemistry. How do you see that continuing when the season finally kicks off on Monday?
Well, I think last year we were able to grow steadily throughout the season. Different adversity, different hurdles presented. You saw personalities come out. You saw a role being more formed. You saw guys settling in to their expectations. It's going to be the same way this year. The only thing is we have a tougher schedule, starting with APB. This is a tough team that we're playing. They're not going to come in and do anything but give us a great fight, and that's why we schedule them. I want us all to understand our schedule from last year is different than our schedule from this year. There's a lot of great teams, great coaches that we face, but the one consistent that I look at last season was that our guys grew. They grew through the adversity. Our fans were there to support our guys and help in that nurturing process, and I think the same will happen this year when our fans are able to provide the energy. And guess what? Kids are going to get better through game by game, week by week. It's a long season, and we just want to start one day, one game at a time.
Does this year feel a little bit different, you know, going in, and there's so much excitement, obviously, after what happened last year going into the season now?
No. I think there's still a level of expectation internally that does not meet the expectation externally. I think, when you look at our conference preseason standings, they still have us in the bottom half, the bottom third of the conference, no different than they did last year. When you look at your team development, you didn't have, other than Kobe Brown, a preseason guy, right? But that was respected from what he's earned the year before. That didn't mean Demoy Hodge wasn't earning a spot on that team. He worked himself up to that. The same way with Dre Golston. Dre Golston had first team actions and plays throughout the season. And we want guys to continue to do that for us. And ultimately, if you can provide consistency to young people and young people to each other and coaches to young people, you'll have an environment where growth is happening week by week. And I'm excited to see who grows. Mabor Majak has been playing tremendous basketball, and I want his role to grow. Caleb Brown, who I've spoke about to you guys just based off the most improved player this summer, I want him to continue to grow. I don't want any complacency seeping into our program, but I want to be able to exceed our own internal expectations, but also not get distracted with where the media or fellow coaches have us ranked in the non-conference or at the beginning of the season, because when you look at those historically, it never pans out. It never is consistent once the season ends. So I want our guys to be able to continue to work day by day, minute by minute, hour by hour, and be consistent as young people in expectations.
One final question.
Coach, what's the role that you envision for Noah Carter from a usage standpoint as one of those anchors that you kind of mentioned?
Well, his history says this. He's a guy that can average 15 points a game. He's done that at Northern Iowa. He's a young man who finished the last 8 games of our season as one of the most efficient, but also rebounding and when it comes down to points, as scouting reports got tougher. So the usage, when you look at his average is 9.7 points per game on 20 minutes, right? About 20 minutes a game. When you look at even raising that by 50%, the minutes per game, getting them to close to 30, he has the potential to put the ball in the basket, rebound, but also give us what we need from a experience, but also leadership standpoint. There's many games that he's had where he could have definitely got over 30 points, and I truly believe his unselfishness and obviously the presence of Kobe Brown kind of made him take the back seat to that, and that's an unselfish spirit. That's what we need throughout the season, and he's ready to step up, and I'm going to continue to challenge him. I just want him to understand there's an expectation of being circled and being the bullseye, but also there's an expectation where you can't get distracted if you don't get the calls, you don't get maybe the shooting percentage that you want. You still got to get to that free throw line. You still got to make tough plays. You still got to play both sides of the ball, and I'm excited with where our team is.
All right, thanks, Coach.
Thank you, guys. MIZ.